Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. When I began my journey, I wasn't anyone special. I had no money, no powerful friends, and I failed university entrance exams more than once. What I did have, however, was a stubborn kind of courage. Courage to start without certainty. You see, most people wait for guarantees, for the perfect moment, but life doesn't offer guarantees, and the perfect moment never shows up. If I had waited for clarity, I wouldn't be here speaking to you now. Action is the ultimate remedy for doubt. The biggest mistake you can make is not trying. I remember someone once said that 80% of success is just showing up and taking action. And I believe that with all my heart. While others hesitated, I failed forward. I learned, I adapted, I grew. Momentum matters more than mastery in the beginning. A step taken today beats 1,000 thoughts about tomorrow. Starting something is like planting a seed. If you overthink the weather, the soil, or the insects, you'll never sow anything. But when you plant with intent, even in fear, something grows. That's how productivity begins. Not with perfection, but with movement. Those tiny actions become your daily improvement, your personal growth. I knew that if I waited too long, regret would be heavier than failure. People often ask me, Jack, how did you find the willpower to begin without any support? My answer is simple. I didn't have support, but I had belief. That self-belief, even when fragile, was my most valuable currency. It was this mindset that developed my resilience and self-discipline over time. It's not the money or resources that make someone win. It's their relentless commitment to just begin. I used to say to myself, if not now, when? If not me, who? These words aren't just motivational. They're a call to ownership. Your life doesn't wait for your confidence to arrive. It rewards your effort. So even if you're scared, confused, or unsure, take a deep step. Because when you start walking, something magical happens. You realize you're not as weak as you thought, and the path begins to reveal itself. In the early days of Alibaba, failure was our daily bread. We faced hundreds of rejections from investors, partners, even our own doubts. Sometimes it felt like we were building a dream on quicksand, but every rejection taught us something. Every closed door made us rethink, improve, and come back stronger. I came to understand that success is not the absence of failure. It's the ability to stand up faster each time you fall. There were moments when the future seemed too heavy to carry. I used to repeat to my team, today is hard, tomorrow will be worse, but the day after tomorrow will be beautiful. The problem is most people quit tomorrow night. They give up just before the miracle. But the truth is, motivation grows in the mud, not in the sunshine. Resilience is forged in discomfort, and that's where true growth mindset begins to flourish. One of the most powerful habits I developed was seeing setbacks as feedback, not defeat. When we lost money, we asked why. When we heard no, we asked, how can we improve? That's how personal development works. It's not about pretending you're invincible. It's about being emotionally intelligent enough to learn and adapt. The failures weren't the end of our story. They were the ink we used to write it. There's a strange beauty in being underestimated. It gave us the freedom to fail without too much scrutiny. I remember those sleepless nights, not knowing if the company would survive the next month, but those experiences built a foundation of mental resilience. It wasn't success that made us who we are. It was who we became during those dark days. When you embrace adversity, it sharpens yourself and elevates your discipline. In those moments of chaos, I reminded myself, when you're poor, if you have a dream, you never feel poor. That dream fueled us when everything else seemed against us. And that same dream gave our team something to believe in when logic said we should quit. Because the secret isn't avoiding failure. It's choosing not to stay there. I. Single quotes V failed. So many times I stopped counting. I failed exams for an entire university again, and again. I was rejected by over 30 companies, including KFC, and constantly reminded that I wasn't good enough. But with Chimi, I discovered something crucial. The real enemy wasn't the rejection. It was the voice inside me saying, you're not capable. That voice, that inner critic, was louder than the world outside. Fear is it shows up as procrastination, as hesitation, as fake humility. It grows in silence, in overthinking, in waiting. And the only way I began to fight it was by confronting it directly. I'd ask myself, if not now, when? If not me, who? That small, honest confrontation would pierce through the fog. Fear is loudest before the leap, but once you jump, it shrinks. Starting Alibaba was like leaping off a cliff and building the plane. On the way down, we had no technology, no investors, no experience. Just a belief in the internet and in our ability to learn fast. And believe me, the fear didn't vanish. I just stopped obeying it. Fear is like a shadow. If you turn toward the light, it fades behind you. That's how mental resilience and self-discipline are built. Not through comfort, but through exposure. Naming your fear is the first step. To disarming it, I used to write my worries in a notebook. Not to feed them, but to see them clearly. What we don't name controls us. When you write it down, it loses power. It becomes something you can analyze, break apart, and slowly overcome. Emotional intelligence isn't about pretending fear doesn't exist. It's learning how to dance with it without losing your rhythm. And something curious happens when you face fear with action. Your confidence doesn't come first. It's the reward. Every brave step trains your brain. Every small act becomes proof that you are more than your fear. And little by little, that voice in your head changes. From you can't to you're getting stronger. That's when the transformation begins to ripple into every area of your life. In the beginning, we never dreamed of building a global empire. All we wanted was to help small Chinese businesses reach the world. That's it. Simple, clear, and close to the heart. We done. Talk about billion-dollar goals or massive expansion plans. We focused on solving one real problem at a time. That small intention became the seed for something extraordinary. Every little success felt like lighting a candle in the dark. We celebrated when we helped a small shop make its first international sale. That moment meant everything. Not because of the money, but because it confirmed our purpose. Big dreams are not built in loud leaps. They're stitched together by quiet steps. Self-discipline and continuous learning turned those baby steps into building blocks for greatness. I tell people often, don't chase the mountain. Chase the next step. When you win the small battles, you build something bigger than confidence. Consistency, that's what productivity is. Progress through simplicity, and each time we helped one client, we reinforced our belief. That belief became our fuel. Not ambition, not greed, just the joy of making a difference. Small victories create emotional momentum. One success leads to the next, like dominoes falling in your favor. I remember standing in our tiny office, watching our first team member close a deal. It felt like conquering the world. That's when I truly understood the power of personal growth through micro accomplishments. When you focus on daily improvement, the impossible starts to feel practical. And there's one thing I'll never forget. If you want to catch the rabbit, don't change the rabbit, change yourself. That means aligning your actions with the dream you carry. Adjust your mindset, build your resilience, and never underestimate the power of just beginning with one small step, right where you are. Motivation is beautiful, but it's not enough. It fades. It burns hot, then disappears like fireworks. What truly builds a successful life is not the spark, but the system that keeps the fire alive. I realized early on that if I relied only on inspiration, I would crash. That's when I began to study how to turn emotion into habit, how to transform willpower into routine. It started with something simple. I gave myself 15 minutes a day to focus on one important task. Just 15 minutes. That was my deal with myself. And something fascinating happened. Those 15 minutes rewired my brain. They triggered a reward loop. Finish one task, feel good, want to do more. That's how the success mindset is built. Not in loud victories, but in quiet repetitions. Personal development depends on rhythm. You don't need a perfect plan. You need a pattern, a structure that carries you through the days when motivation is missing. I saw this in athletes too. They don't wake up excited every day. They wake up committed. They built a system, and that system builds them. That's how I learned the secret of productivity and emotional intelligence. Over time, those small habits turned into life transformation. It was like planting a tree. You don't notice the growth each day, but one day you look back and realize you're standing in the shade of something beautiful. Gratitude practices helped me stay grounded. Focus routines kept my energy aligned, and tiny acts of discipline became the pillars of sustainable success. Motivation is a visitor, but discipline is a resident. If you want to live a life of empowerment and clarity, don't wait for the spark. Build the structure that protects it, because one small flame protected daily can light the way for years to come. ... People often think success is about doing something spectacular, but I've found the real key is doing the ordinary things, day after day, with extraordinary focus. When I started practicing a morning routine, just 30 minutes to plan, reflect, and clear my mind, everything shifted. In chaos, that routine became my compass. That's when I truly understood the power of self-discipline. Discipline isn't a prison, it's freedom. When your day has structure, your mind is lighter. You're not wasting energy on what now. You already know. That clarity improves time management and sharpens productivity. And over Chimi, it builds something priceless. Self-trust. Every disciplined action whispers to your soul, "You can count on you," I once said. If you want to catch the rabbit, don't change the rabbit, change yourself. That's what discipline is. It's not about changing the world instantly. It's about transforming how you show up in it. I didn't become more talented than others. I became more consistent. That's what allowed me to lead Alibaba through the storms we faced. Each act of discipline strengthens mental resilience, whether it's waking up early, reviewing your goals, or cutting distractions. These acts are like sharpening your sword before battle. You won't always feel like it, but that's the test. Anyone can act when they're inspired. It's when you act without inspiration that you build the strongest foundation. People say discipline takes the joy out of life, but that's a myth. True joy is knowing you're progressing, that you're not stuck, that you're growing into someone you're proud of. Discipline is quiet. It doesn't shout, but its rewards echo loudly in everything you touch. ... For years, I doubted myself. Every rejection, every failure became ammunition for that inner voice that whispered, "You're not enough." And it wasn't until I realized that this voice wasn't truth, it was programming, that I began to change. The way we speak to ourselves shapes the life we're building. When I shifted from "I failed" to "I'm still learning," everything transformed. Words carry energy. The way we think becomes the way we feel, and the way we feel becomes the way we act. I started replacing criticism with encouragement. Instead of saying, "You're not smart enough," I said, "You're growing." That shift didn't make me perfect, but it gave me room to improve. Positive thinking isn't naive, it's strategic. It programs your brain for resilience and productivity. I began talking to myself like I would talk to a friend. "You're doing your best. Keep going. You've done harder things before." Those affirmations, repeated daily, became mental anchors. Over time, they rewired my emotional responses. This is self-awareness in action. Noticing the pattern and choosing a new one. That's how inner strength is built. Not overnight, but word by word. And here's something I always remind people. You are your own best coach or your worst enemy. Don't wait for someone else to believe in you. Train your own mind to do it. This is not just emotional intelligence, it's personal empowerment. Every time you celebrate a small win or speak a kind word to yourself, you're rewriting the story. Changing your internal voice is like adjusting the sails of a ship. The wind might not change, but your direction does. One phrase, one thought, one belief, repeated consistently, can steer your entire life toward a different horizon. Most people think procrastination is laziness, but I see it differently. It's emotional protection. We delay because we fear failing, being judged, or even succeeding and not knowing what to do next. I used to blame myself for being too slow until I realized I needed kindness, not criticism. And that compassion became the starting point for real action. Breaking big goals into smaller steps saved me. When I told myself, just start for 5 minutes, it disarmed the pressure. Suddenly, 5 minutes turned into 10, 10 into 30. That's how momentum works. Motivation doesn't show up before you begin. It shows up because you begin. Self-discipline isn't about pushing harder. It's about beginning softer. One of my favorite lessons came from my own failures. I had been rejected by 30 companies, including a simple service job at KFC. I could have quit trying, but I chose to act anyway, even with fear knocking at my door, and something incredible happened. Every action I took made the fear smaller. That's the power of movement. It weakens the weight of uncertainty. And I'll say this again, because it matters. When you're poor, if you have a dream, you never feel poor. That dream gave me the strength to act, even when the odds felt cruel. It reminded me that doing something, even imperfectly, was better than being paralyzed by doubt. Progress is not about speed. It's about direction. A small step forward is still forward. So the next time you freeze, don't fight it with guilt. Meet it with grace. Say, let's just do a little, because procrastination is not a character flaw. It's a signal. And when you answer that signal with compassion, you unlock the courage to move, gently but surely, toward the life you're meant to live. Success is not lightning. It's a snowball. At first, it's small and hard to roll. But with each push, it gathers speed and strength. I call this momentum. And once you find it, everything changes. You stop overthinking and start flowing. That's what happened with Alibaba. We didn't plan to change the world. We just focused on helping one customer at a time, consistently. Momentum is emotional fuel. Every small win creates a spark. And if you protect that spark with discipline, it becomes fire. That's why I always begin my day with a simple, achievable task. It signals to my brain, today we move. That first win generates confidence, and confidence multiplies. This is how personal growth turns into life transformation, step by focused step. I've seen it happen countless times. A tiny success, closing one deal, fixing one problem, helping one client, creates a ripple effect. One win becomes 5. 5 becomes a culture. And soon, you're not pushing the snowball. It's pulling you forward. That's what productivity is. Aligning motion with direction. And this is where self-discipline becomes your superpower. We also need to celebrate those small victories. People think celebration is for big moments, but it's the small ones that keep us going. Each time we acknowledged progress, even a minor improvement, our team's energy grew. This emotional intelligence, recognizing progress, is what turns struggle into motivation. It tells your brain, it's working. Keep going. Success habits don't need to be massive. They just need to be consistent, like adding 1 brick a day to your foundation. It might look slow at first, but over time it builds a fortress. That's the secret. Consistency creates momentum, and momentum becomes unstoppable when fueled by purpose. Success isn't built in moments of inspiration. It's built in what you do when no one's watching. My daily routine became my shield and my sword. I created specific hours to reflect, review my goals, and eliminate distractions. These small rituals, repeated with intention, gave me control even during the most chaotic times. That's how real productivity is born. When your routine aligns with your mission, you move forward even on the hard days. You don't rely on motivation, you rely on rhythm. It's like driving with GPS. You don't need to think every second, you just follow the path. That saves mental energy and allows you to focus where it truly matters, on growth, clarity, and self-discipline. One of my favorite examples is reading. I read just 10 pages a day. Not much, right? But over a year, that's over 10 books. I've always said, small things, done consistently, create big results. The same applies to your habits. Whether it's exercising, meditating, or writing, those daily actions turn into identity. You become what you repeat. Every routine is a commitment, a declaration that you're serious about your future. And this is why gratitude practices and morning planning became sacred to me. They grounded my emotions, sharpened my focus, and gave meaning to even the toughest days. That's not discipline. It's self-respect. You're telling yourself, I value this life enough to prepare for it. People often wait for magic. But the truth is, magic is routine, repeated with purpose. It doesn't flash. It doesn't scream. It simply works, silently and powerfully. And when you look back, you'll realize that what changed your life wasn't one big moment, but the quiet choices you made each day, before Alibaba became real. It was a picture in my mind. I saw it every day. Millions of small businesses, trading with the world through a simple digital platform. That vision gave me direction when reality was blurry. When others saw chaos, I saw potential. And that inner picture kept me grounded. Because what you can imagine, you can begin to build. Visualization is not about wishful thinking. It's mental training. It's emotional rehearsal. I didn't just dream of success. I pictured the problems, the fears, the long nights, and how we would face them. That prepared me. It made me resilient. Before the battle began, if you want to develop mental toughness, start by seeing the road ahead, even if it's filled with challenge. Every morning, I read my goals aloud. I closed my eyes and imagined how it would feel to achieve them. That exercise trained my brain to believe. It wasn't magic. It was neuroscience. Your brain reacts to visualization the same way it reacts to real experience. That's how confidence is born. Not from results, but from repeated belief. That's how self-belief becomes muscle. I always told my team, if you can't see it, you won't fight for it. When we struggled financially, I reminded them of our future. I described the success we hadn't reached yet, as if it had already arrived. And they believed, because I believed. That's what leadership is. Transferring vision until it becomes contagious. A leader must see before others believe. Writing your goals, visualizing them daily, and acting on them consistently. That's the trio of transformation. It's like planting the dream in your mind until the roots reach your actions. And when that happens, the world begins to respond, not because it suddenly changed, but because you did. From the very beginning of Alibaba, I knew one thing. I couldn't do it alone. I wasn't the smartest. I wasn't the richest, but I had a team, a small group of people who believed in the same dream. We weren't chasing money. We were chasing meaning, and that shared purpose created an unbreakable bond. We succeeded, not because we were perfect, but because we didn't want to let each other down. Shared responsibility creates emotional strength. When you know someone else is counting on you, you show up differently. You show up stronger. That's what happened during our toughest days. We were broke, tired, and doubted by everyone. But we had each other. That human connection kept the flame alive. Gratitude and trust were our fuel when hope felt thin. Accountability changes everything. When you say out loud, I will do this, it becomes more than a goal. It becomes a promise. That promise transforms your behavior. You focus more. You procrastinate less. That's not pressure. It's empowerment. Having someone witness your ambition gives it weight. It becomes real, urgent, and meaningful. I often say, friends and teams are your secret weapon. Alone, you can be fast. Together, you can go far. A great mentor reflects your potential when you forget who you are. A great team carries you when your legs shake. Personal development thrives when surrounded by people who see your future and remind you of it daily. The most powerful kind of motivation doesn't come from within or from above. It comes from beside you, from people walking the same hard road, refusing to let you fall behind. And when that support is mutual, something extraordinary happens. Your dream stops being yours. Alone, it becomes a shared legacy.
They watched in silence as Jack Ma walked onto the stage, not as a billionaire, but as a man who had once been rejected by 30 companies, who failed his college entrance exam multiple times, and who started a tech company with no tech background. What followed wasn't just a speech. It was a masterclass in resilience, vision, and the raw power of human determination. Jack Ma didn't deliver theories. He shared life scars, emotional truths, and the real blueprint for winning in life, even when everything seems against you. Jack Ma revealed that courage isn't the absence of fear. It's the decision to start without guarantees. He took the audience back to the days when he had no capital, no connections, and no clear plan. Yet, he moved. He planted the seed of action before waiting for perfect conditions. And that single mindset, start now, perfect later, became the foundation of his life's transformation. Productivity, he emphasized, doesn't begin with clarity, but with motion. When the room thought they understood failure, Jack Ma redefined it. He didn't sugarcoat the losses, he embraced them. Through rejection, debt, and endless no's, he found wisdom. He taught that failure is not the opposite of success. It's the soil where growth begins. People fail, he said, not because they're not smart, but because they give up too soon. His phrase, "Today is hard, tomorrow will be worse, but the day after tomorrow will be beautiful," echoed like a prophecy. One of the most powerful moments came when Jack Ma spoke of fear, not the external kind, but the internal dialogue that keeps people paralyzed. He didn't just face critics, he faced himself. And through visualization, reframing thoughts, and daily self-talk, he rewrote the voice in his head. "I stopped saying I can't and began saying, I'm still learning," he confessed. That change wasn't poetic, it was transformational. He shared his belief in small steps and sustainable motivation. A 15-minute daily habit, a single successful deal, a brief moment of focus. These, he explained, are not small things, they are compounding miracles. With subtle humor and disarming honesty, Jack Ma explained how self-discipline, more than genius, is what turns ordinary people into extraordinary success stories. And with each story, he stitched in keywords like time management, growth mindset, emotional intelligence, and daily improvement. Jack Ma reminded the audience that procrastination isn't laziness, it's emotional overwhelm. The solution, he said, isn't guilt, but compassion. Start with 5 minutes. Make a micro move. That's where momentum begins. And once you have momentum, you build what he calls the unseen force of success, constancia. It's not glamorous, but it's what makes legends. He then opened hearts by talking about routines, how they became his compass in chaos. Reflecting daily, planning intentionally, reading 10 pages a day, meditating 5 minutes. Simple actions that, over time, built a legacy. Success, he said, is not one big event. It's the sum of 1,000 small ones, performed with clarity and consistency. Finally, he ended with a truth many ignore. No one succeeds alone. Jack Ma paid tribute to his team, his early believers, and the mentors who held up a mirror to his potential. Shared dreams, he said, are heavier, but they carry us farther. The message was clear. If you want to win in life, even when the world says no, you must start, persist, and share the journey. Now it's your turn. You've just walked through the very path that turned rejection into empire, fear into fuel, and small steps into massive momentum. But none of it matters if it stays here, on the screen. Jack Ma didn't transform his life by understanding these lessons. He transformed it by living them, one uncomfortable, determined, disciplined step at a time. What's holding you back right now? Is it fear of not being good enough? Waiting for the right time? Or maybe the belief that success is only for the lucky? This entire journey proved the opposite. You already have what it takes. Now you need to act on it. Begin with one habit, one goal, one promise to yourself. Because life doesn't reward those who watch, it rewards those who move. Which part of this message hit you the hardest? Was it the story of starting without guarantees, the truth about fear, the science of building a routine that actually works? Share your insight in the comments below. Someone else might need exactly what you discovered today. And here's something important. Save this video. Re-watch it on those days when you feel lost. Let Jack Ma's story be your compass in moments of doubt. Let these words remind you that progress is never loud, but it is always powerful. If this content resonated with you, don't let it slip away. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and activate the notification bell. If you don't, you might not find this video again, and we both know this kind of value isn't easy to come by. And for those ready to go even deeper on this path of growth, I invite you to watch the next episode right now. Because your journey doesn't end here, it's just getting started.